Gathering in Paris for the annual May Day demonstrations. Organizers say as many as 100,000 people could take part, as this year May Day comes amid ongoing protests over President Macron raising the retirement age to 64. ABC News' Inez de la Cuetara is in Paris with more on that. And as we've been hearing smoke grenades, stun grenades going off near you, what's the latest?
Hey, Diane, that's right. Yeah, so we're behind police lines right now just to stay safe. But you've got police officers on this side, protesters on the other side. And we've been hearing all sorts of things going on. So they've been setting off fireworks. Protesters have been hurling objects at police officers and police officers firing back with tear gas and stun grenades. So I would say it is turning increasingly violent. They are protesting pension reform here. So they've been protesting pension reform for weeks now. The government's plan to raise the minimum retirement age from 62 to 64. The law has passed, but demonstrators are confident that if they continue to, cause this kind of chaos right here, that the government will backtrack. They're pointing to the fact that that did happen once before in the past under a different administration. There was a controversial law that once passed. Protesters continued to protest, and the government did eventually backtrack on that law. So protesters here are hoping that's what's going to happen with pension reform. The government, though, has shown no indication that it is willing to backtrack. So French President Emmanuel Macron points to the changing demographics. He says people are living longer. He says he doesn't have a choice. He says the government will go in the red should the system stay as is. Demonstrators say there are other ways to fund pensions, and they're pointing to things like taxing the rich. So 1.5 million people expected across France today. It's not just here in Paris. It's in cities like Lyon and Bordeaux. Protests turning violent. In Lyon, you can see the police officers right now charging, so they're probably going to try and disperse the crowds here. But protests around France, 1.5 million around France, 5,000 police officers here in Paris, and 12,000 police officers across France.
Now, several cities have announced plans to use drones to film the protesters during these demonstrations. Well, why do that, and how are people reacting to that?
Yeah, so that is a first in France. It's never happened before, and they are starting to use drones. We haven't seen any right now, but the idea, police say, is to keep an eye on the crowds, to keep people safe. On the flip side, though, demonstrators are saying that, it's a breach of their privacy. They don't want to be filmed. They're worried that that footage could then be used against them to maybe arrest them. So that is certainly something that's been controversial here as things continue to escalate, as protests continue to happen here in France week after week with no signs of letting up, Diane.
All right, Inez de la Cuetara in Paris for us. Thanks.